Hello there, my name is Spencer, and today we are looking at Dyson Sphere program. This is a game by Youthcat Studio and published by Gamera Game. These are not studios that I'm familiar with. I haven't played any of the other games that they've made, but so far this game seems very good. It is in early access, and right now it's priced at $19.99 USD, and I will tell you that it is well worth the price, even at this early access stage. You can think of this game as something like Satisfactory, where you're taking base materials and you have to make them into increasingly more complex materials, and ultimately the goal of the game is to create a Dyson Sphere, which basically what a Dyson Sphere is a theoretical structure in which, you can see it here, you build a structure around an active star and are able to collect most of or all of the energy coming off of that star. That is the end goal of the game. But before we get there, we need to start with the options menu. So there's not too much here, although I will say that it's really nice to see such a large resolution, or so many resolution options, I should say. This goes all the way down to 640 by 480. I don't know that anybody would be playing the game at that resolution, but it is nice to see such a wide range. You can turn full screen on and off, VSync on and off. There's no unlimited FPS, it goes up to 100, but this is not a first-person shooter or anything like that, so I don't think that having unlimited FPS is really necessary. But I keep vertical sync on. You have anti-aliasing 2x, 4x, 8x, or you can turn it off. A couple other things I haven't really messed with. Audio settings, main volume, sound effects, ambient, music. You can adjust all these. Pretty standard stuff. Gameplay, you can change how often it autosaves. I leave it at the 8 minutes. I did adjust the sensitivity because at 1, or whatever it was, 1.5, it was way too sensitive for me. You can also reverse the camera rotation if you want. I don't. You can turn off these different icons, although I'm not sure why you would want to, especially something like this one I'm hovering over, which will tell you when one of your machines is not getting power. If one of your machines doesn't have power, that's going to mess up your whole production line, so you're definitely going to want to know that. You can have the research always on display. I don't know why you would turn that off. And there's a few other things. You can change the UI size, essentially. So if I wanted to make this really small, put the resolution height to 2160, I can apply that, and it's much smaller now. Except that's really not what I want, because that's way too hard to see. So we're going to take it back down to 1080. And if you set it lower to 800 as the reference height, it would become even bigger. So that's pretty good. The controls, you can't rebind the keys yet. You can see here it says set the key not implemented yet. So that's always a good thing, to have a game that lets you rebind your keys. I think that's absolutely essential on any PC game. You should be able to rebind anything to any key except the escape key for obvious reasons, but anything else you should be able to reset the keys. So hopefully they do implement this. It's really great that they at least have this placeholder so that you know that's something to expect. And then there's a couple of language options. I don't know if they're planning on adding more languages, because right now it's English, and I believe this is Mandarin. It might be... that doesn't look like Japanese or Korean. I think that's Mandarin. So they may add more language settings. I'd have to look that up. And the tips, you can adjust how often they show up. You can't turn them off completely, but you can change how often they show up. I have show all tips because if you played this game before, you might look at my layout and think, wow, this is really chaotic. But it took me a while to figure out what was going on, even with all the tips on. So we're going to continue here. And I will say, I did try a planet before this, but it was so chaotic that I started over. So this is where I am right now. I started over here. And as you can see, there's a whole series of conveyor belts going on right now. So basically what happens in this game is that your ultimate goal is to build that Dyson Sphere. And one of the things that helps you do that is achieving the theory of everything, which, if we take a look at the tech tree, there's quite a few things here. You get more and more complex as you go. You can see that there's this main quest here. And if you follow the main quest all the way over here, there's mission complete. But one of your ultimate goals is the universe matrix. And developing this, it includes everything. The final answer to the theory of everything. Solving the ultimate mystery of the universe. This is your goal. This is what you want. So, oh, and it does say the game will continue after completion. So you can keep going even when you finish the game, which is nice. It's nice that the game won't automatically close out. But you have to get through all of this other research in order to get there. And trust me, it takes a while to really get everything set up. If you really know what you're doing, you can probably blast through this pretty quickly. Me being absolutely inept at these types of games, despite loving them, it's going to take me a while. So basically, you have to move from basic materials to more complex technology, to more complex technology, to even more complex technology. So you start on your planet, and you have these different resources. So here we have iron, we have some copper over here, and you build a mining machine that will take the iron ore and spit it out here. This line is kind of underneath here, but you can see it going right here if you follow the mouse. And you can then put the iron ore, into a smelter, which will give you iron ingots. That's a pretty basic, I was going to say basic transaction. We'll go with that. That's a basic transaction. And similarly, you take the copper ore, put it into a smelter, you get copper ingots. Then you can take copper ingots and as one of the components that goes into an assembly machine. The second component would be taking iron ore and turning that into magnets. You combine the copper ingots and the magnets into, what is this again? This is a magnetic coil, right? Then you can take a magnetic coil and bring this all the way over here to a matrix lab. You can input that in as one of the components to create an electromagnetic matrix. The other component you need is a circuit board, which I already have the iron ingots being made. I also have the copper ingots being made. So both these go in, makes the circuit boards. I take the circuit boards and the magnetic coils to get the matrix. Then I can take another matrix lab that's intaking these electromagnetic matrices, and that can go straight into research. You can see I don't have any research being produced right now, being researched. But if I did, let's say, I actually can't research anything because I need to be making this other energy matrix. But if I go over to upgrades, this is an entirely different, not, I guess you could say technology tree, but it's for your personal mech. You could see the mech that I was walking around with. You're going to be using that a lot, especially early on when you don't have so many machines. You're going to have to obtain some of the raw resources yourself until you can start automating things. So I haven't done a lot with this. I probably should. But if I wanted to, let's say, because I have these electromagnetic matrices, if I wanted to be able to see vein reserves in the whole planetary system, so I can kind of plan ahead for when I get off planet and start getting resources elsewhere, I can go ahead and activate that. And it will tell you it's going to take about 3 minutes to get this done using my own inventory. So if I turn the use inventory off, what this is going to do is right now it's going to take longer to research, because now I'm relying on those matrix labs that I showed you in order to do the research. And I only have 2 of them. And they produce 60 per second, which is less than what I use in my personal inventory. So if I click this, it goes up to 180. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to make another matrix lab so that I can get the research rate up to 180 when I'm not using my own inventory. I can fully automate that. And the more of these matrix labs I add, the faster that research can get done. So you can see that the more you build this up, the faster things are going to get done. So right now the setup here is pretty good. This may look like it's kind of all over the place and zigzagging, but believe me, compared to the first planet that I did, this is like much more sane. You also have some simpler interactions, like over here I have some coal, I'm mining it, I'm putting some of it in storage just to have it, right? And the coal is going straight into this generator, which you can see my generation capacity is 7.56 megawatts. And you can see that the consumption demand is kind of fluctuating between about 3 and maybe 4.5 megawatts. So I've got plenty of room. And you can see it's also illustrated here. This blue circle tells you how much is being generated, and then this yellow, or not yellow, orange bar is sort of filling a little bit, showing you how much is being used. So we're pretty good on energy here. That's not something I need to worry about too much. And the reason that I'm storing some of this coal is to keep some of it in my own personal inventory. So I can take some of this coal and move it over here, because if you bring up the mecha panel by pressing C by default on the keyboard, you can see that I need fuel. If I run out of fuel, the mech will still move, but it will move very slowly. So you can use coal to increase your fuel, and you can see down here that the bar is now charging my core energy. And if I add more, it won't charge any faster, but it will last longer. And I believe that you can upgrade this in that menu I was showing you before.
Now,
we got,
you can try to view the whole planetary system.
We got an upgrade.
And even the entire cluster
the planetary
by
system.
clicking the star map button in the lower left corner of the screen.
So now we can see resources through the whole star map. But as I was saying, I believe that this is an upgrade for your mecha. You can increase the fuel chamber size, so I could load up a whole lot of coal and not have to worry about powering my mech anytime soon, which is nice. So let's look at the planetary view. I haven't actually looked at this before. So you can see I'm not even going to try to pronounce that planet name, but here's the planet that I'm on, right? If I look at this gas giant nearby, I can see that I can collect hydrogen and I can correct I was going to say deuterium, but that's not right. I know that's not right. I don't know how to say that. If we zoom out even more, we can see we've got this planet here. It's a desert planet. It's got iron, it's got copper. It doesn't have silicon naturally. It's at 0. It has titanium, which I don't have on my current planet. Stone, core, no ocean, so I can't collect any water there. And it'll tell you how efficient it is for collecting energy. Wind energy, solar energy. Gives you some other information. I'm not sure why any of this would be relevant to me. Although, these things are probably relevant when you actually start launching things into space. And then, this will probably be a star. It'll be the star that I build the first Dyson Sphere around, most likely. And you can see all these different elements. It has quite a lot of it. Even oil. It has oil in there. It's got some hydrogen and some of this, which again I can't pronounce. So this will give you a view of your local area. There's only 3 planets. What's this one? This one is a barren desert. It's got a bit of everything except coal and no ocean. You can't produce wind energy, and barely any solar energy. So how you would power this planet would probably be solar energy, but it's not very good at it. So, okay, that's interesting. So then, when you get to the point that you can start moving to other planets, you can kind of plan things out and figure out where you're going to go. So, anyway, I started building over here because what I'd like to do is I would like to come over to the replicator here. I want to be making high purity silicon, but there's no silicon resources on this planet. So if I click on this, it'll tell me, how do I make this? Well, if I had the silicon ore, I could put that ore into a smelting facility. You can see it says made in a smelting facility. Since I don't have that, I can click on this silicon ore and realize, oh, I can take stone ore, put that into a smelting facility and get silicon ore, which is what I have set up here. So in order to make the high purity silicon, what I need to do is come over to production, grab a smelter, build this, and you can see every time you build something, these little drones come out of your mech. And you can do various upgrades in order to have more drones and make them move faster. So we want to build one of these little sorters so that it will take in the silicon ore. So we click on the smelter and we say, okay, what do we want to make? Well, I need to be making the high purity silicon, which it will then take in and start to produce. For now, I want to come over to storage and just put the silicon in storage for the moment. So we come over to logistics, we have conveyor belts. Conveyor belts are very important because they transport everything. And we'll take the sorter and connect it to the conveyor belts. And then you can see that all this is coming in. Oh, and you see that? I actually don't have power. So I can come over to the power tab. I usually just add more power sources, which I've primarily been using these wind turbines, although I do have the coal, which I probably shouldn't build so many wind turbines. It's not necessary. If I didn't want to do that, I could just build a Tesla tower, which doesn't add to the total energy that you're producing, but it does extend the grid. So I could probably get away with not building so many wind turbines. So we have the silicon being made, right? Now, what I would like to ultimately do, I'd like to get to building a processor. But before we do that, we need the microcrystalline component. So, in order to do that, we need the high purity silicon, which I'm already making and putting in storage. And I also need a copper ingot. So, we do have some copper over this way. By the way, this little flight thing is an upgrade that I made. So, we want to get this copper out of the ground because we want to be making copper ingots and then combining the copper ingots with this high purity silicon in order to make the microcrystalline components. So, we come over here to the gathering, and you can see we have a mining machine. We also have a water pump, which I have not made yet. And we also have an oil extractor. I have not extracted any oil yet. But, oh, we can't produce that because we don't have any steel. That's okay. I'm producing steel elsewhere, so we'll pick that up later. So, you can press R to rotate the mining facility, or if you hold shift, you can rotate like this, little by little, which is what I kind of like to do, because the more of these deposits that you can access, the faster it's going to be able to mine them. So I can click that and place that there. Gets built pretty quickly. We do need some power, but instead of building all these wind turbines, let's just extend the grid. So you can see that purple dotted line will tell you approximately how far away you can build this. And actually, instead of building the standard Tesla tower, what I can do is build the wireless tower, which has a longer line of sight. You can see this should be able to power this machine from that distance. And it does. So you can upgrade the Tesla tower into a wireless power tower, which has a longer range, and also it says that it will charge the mech if I'm close to it. So if I'm running out of power source and I can get to one of these, I can charge up by standing in this circle. So we've got the mine. What we want to do is we need a conveyor belt coming out of here. This, I'm not going to worry about it too much, but this will be just fine. And then what we want to do is we want to go over to production and get a smelter. Build that there. And then the sorter, which you want to connect this way. Which, before I move on, it's important the direction that you're moving the mouse in order to connect things. So if I went like this, it would be, this would not take in the copper ore because it's going in the wrong direction. You can see from the arrow. So we want to go in. And the same is with the conveyor belts. If I want to move this material from here to here, I need to build it this way. I can't build it backwards that way because the conveyor belt will move from the smelter to the miner. That's not what we want. We want the conveyor belt moving from the miner to the smelter. So you can see it has no power. So we'll just build one of these towers. And actually, you can dismantle a facility. In case I decide to output something from this side, I don't want to build something in the way. So let's just build it right there. So it's out of the way in case I have an output going this way. So we have the smelter. Choose the recipe. We need copper ingots. Okay. So I will choose to keep some copper ingots in storage just to have it. I don't know if it's necessary, but I like to have a bit of a reserve of all the materials that I'm making. So we connect it there. Just gotta wait for this to build, and then we can connect it here. And now it's going into storage. So what we need to do now is we need to take the copper ingots and combine them with the silicon in order to make the microcrystalline component. So we need to build an assembler to do that. We can't do that with a smelter. So we come over to production, get the assembly machine. We'll put it right in the middle somewhere. Right there's fine. Oh, we also need power. Oh, I can connect over here. This should be fine. This should be fine. Alright, so we want to connect the copper to there. Connect the silicon to here. And we need the sorters taking... Oh, it has to finish building. Okay, we want to take the ingots out of there. Move them into here. Oh, that has no power. Okay. I can fix that. Oh, it's not quite in the grid. That's okay. What did I say about not building so many wind turbines? And here I am building another one. Okay. So now the copper ingots are coming in. By the way, if you move your mech closer, so these little drones can build faster, that's much better. This is why it's good to get upgrades for that. So the little, you have more of those drones and they move faster. So we want to take the silicon out of there, and it'll come into here. And then we want to make the microcrystalline component. And then we will take those components, put them in the storage, so I have them. Connect this up. Connect that there. Connect that there. And now, oh, I forgot to make a connector. We'll just make 10 of those. By the way, if you have materials... Well, actually, let me make sure that this is right. No. If you have materials in storage, this is why it's good to have materials in storage, because these... I have plenty of these iron ingots in storage. They're not in my personal inventory. So it is important to have some of these things in storage so you can produce things on the fly like this. So it'll take a couple of minutes here because it's got to produce a few things before it can get to this. So while we're here, in your own inventory and in other inventory menus, if you're looking this and thinking this is kind of a mess, why is there a matrix cube here and things are kind of out of order, you can press this little button right here and it will sort everything. So all the copper ingots are next to each other, the glass is next to each other. It's all organized, which is nice. I end up using this often because I just place things wherever. You can also, you can see right here, you can split items. You can hold shift to pick up multiple items, hold control to pick up all items of the same type. So you can, pick up exactly what you want and how much you want. So these are built, and I need to connect this here. So now we are making microcrystalline components, and it's a little slow. And I do believe that as you progress and become, your processing becomes more and more complicated, things tend to slow down. You can see by clicking on this, I'm making 22.5 per minute. And this is the maximum for this machine. There is supposedly going to be an assembly machine Mark II at some point, but it's not unlocked in the research tree. I can't actually make that. I believe that's going to be added to the game later. It's not even in the game. But speaking of that, we do need to do some sort of research. And we have, I believe we have some of these engines. No, we don't have the engines. I don't know that we can actually... Oh, I do have steel being made, and I do have circuit boards. So I can increase my inventory capacity, which would be nice. We want to get rid of that. I know I'm making steel somewhere. Let's have a look. I know that I'm making steel. Ah, yes. I do have steel. So we're going to want to take some of this steel from my personal inventory. And we'll just take... I'm not going to worry about taking exactly 20. Now it's manual research. And actually, I could decide to not do manual research. Oh, I actually don't know why it's not... I thought it would take it right out of the inventory where I'm storing it. I guess not. I'll have to figure that out. I'm not sure about that. So we'll research that. And what else do I want to show you? I would like to try extracting some oil. And there's an oil vein. Oh, it's right there. There's an oil vein right over here. So, let's see. Oil. We need gathering. We need an oil extractor, which I have all the components for. If I didn't have the components for, again, I can go in and figure out, okay, what do I need for all this stuff? So we want to get one of those. That'll take a little time to do that. And we'll start getting some oil produced. Eventually, I do want to make another one of those research matrices so that this research will happen faster. So, I'm not exactly sure why I can't uncheck this and it doesn't take it straight out of the storage facilities. I'm not quite sure about that. So, we just have to wait for that to finish. And what else can we do here? We already have coal. We already have stone. Oh, let's see. We're not making, because I'm trying to make sure that I'm making all of the basic materials. Let's see. I'm already making the magnetic coils, so that's fine. Prisms. I need glass. So actually what we can do is we can produce some glass over here, which I believe, let's see. Yes, you get from stone. So we can then take the miner, get this set up. Does need power. And get a smelter built. Get that going in there. We do need some power. We'll just extend the grid. And then we want to make glass. And then we'll take the glass, put that in to storage. Make sure we're taking that out of there. And then put that in the storage. And now, oh, really? Okay. We'll just move this slightly in order to cover this. Oh, but that doesn't have power now. Oh, jeez. You know what? I'll just build... I don't care. I'll just build another wind turbine. But as you can see, we get more and more complicated as you go. I'm doing my best to try to make all of the basic components. Like I said before, it does, for me at least, tend to get a little overwhelming because there's so much to keep track of. You can see I really need to figure out what to do, figure out something to produce with these gears, because this whole production has stopped because I've reached the limit of how many gears I can have in here. I could take this out and it'll start up again for a little bit. But I definitely have a lot more work to do figuring out what all the components are and how to combine them and how to get things moving. And eventually you move off planet. There's technology in the tech tree where you can start to extract materials from gas planets, which you obviously can't land on. You just have to extract it from the atmosphere. So I hope that this was helpful. I tried to cover as much as I possibly could, although I'm probably forgetting something, but I think you get the basic idea of what's going on here. I do really like these kinds of games. It is very much like Satisfactory. I actually haven't played Satisfactory, but I've seen other people play it, and it is my thing. And probably if I really tried, I could make this even... Oh, it's not producing anything. I could make this even more efficient, but that would probably take a ton of time to figure everything out. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like. Please consider subscribing if you want to see more videos like this. And I will see you next time. Thank you.